we learn that David was appointing Vayimloch David al Kol Yisrael. David now became the king, the Melech, on all of Israel. But he, David, oseh mishpat v'tzedakah l'chol. No. And David did justice and charity to all his nation. And we discussed what that meant. He was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He sat in judgment in cases. And in a case where someone very poor was up against someone wealthy, but the wealthy guy had the law on his side, David would not pervert the law out of mercy. He would say, the wealthy guy is right, the poor guy is wrong. I hereby hand down judgment for the wealthy guy. That's mishpat. And then David would take money out of the royal treasury and give it to the poor guy to pay the rich guy. That's the tzedakah. And then it says that he appointed different people. Yoav ben Tzruya became his commander of his army. Yoshaphat ben Achilud, he appointed someone to be his official scribe, who would, actually the recorder of the minutes and the chief of staff, really was like the chief of staff, deciding who gets it and who, and so on and so forth. And then Sadoki and Achimelech were named Kohanim, real Kohens, actual Kohens. And Sraya Sofer, he became the official chronicler of the monarchy. We gave the example of what happened in the book of Esther when when Achashverosh couldn't sleep at the beginning of, I think, chapter 5. And he asked to have his chronicles read. And it was read that Mordechai, the Jew, had saved his life, et cetera, and it was turning around the whole story. And so that's what a chronicler does, creates a historic record of the king's time. Well, the more so nowadays, you've got all the reporters and journalists and everybody else is keeping their own documentation. In those days, not everybody had paper and pencils, pens. So it was important to have an official chronicler of the monarchy. Uvnayahu ben Yodav Kreti Vapleti, and here was the point, the last words of the chapter. Uvnei David Kohanim Hayu, and the sons of David were Kohanim, and the translation actually confounded me, and it forced me to say to Janet, because it was the spur of the moment. We were running, as we sometimes do, over the 1 hour time, and I didn't want to start really thinking it through, and so I said to Janet, please be patient, we'll have it all next week. And that's not like a secret way that I get rid of questions. If anybody asks a question and we don't have an answer right away, I'll spend a whole week finding that answer. But this one was kind of fell into place pretty easily. Here we go. The word Kohen, the way we've been learning it in the Torah, the Tanakh, everything, we're talking about called the priest, the Kohen with a Kohen, not exactly the same as a priest, of course. The Kohen that would serve at the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, offer sacrifices, korbanot, descended to the line of Aaron. But the word Kohen also means simply to be in charge of something. Mechahen, let's see what I'm talking about. It's even contemporary Hebrew. This is a dictionary translating Hebrew to English. Kihen, Kohen, to hold a senior position. Biblical, to serve as a priest. But it also could be simply to hold a senior position. Okay, so let's take it another step. Here's an even more interesting dictionary I found, Reverso. Wonder why they call it that. And so this is the Hebrew Reverso, where they give you a whole bunch of different sentences, not necessarily biblical, but a whole bunch of different sentences, and they show how it's used. And I looked up Kohen, and I got some examples. Lifnei Shava Shanim, before 7 years ago, who had Kimmit Mivneh course to Imot, he set up a tasting course, Shehu Mechahen Bo, and he continues to conduct it Arayom until this day. Hu Mechahen Kimenahel Tachnit HaMechkar. He conducts business as the head of the research institute. Anachnu b'dabrim al chaver mo'atza mechahen. We're talking about someone who's in the city council and conducts city business. And there were just a whole bunch of those. Let's see if we can find one more. Well, you get the idea. Mechahen director, director chitzoni b'mishpar chevrot. He serves as a director and in an external director in a number of different companies. So to serve, Kohen, in this context, if we look at it more carefully, it does not say that David appointed them Kohen. On the one hand, these two, Tzadok ben Achituv and Achimelech ben Aviatar, were Kohanim, and Uvnei David Kohanim Hayu, they were not the priestly Kohanim, rather they were, so that's a wrong definition, rather they were people who were in charge. They were given executive positions, sort of like like David's sons, sort of like at the very end before Hunter Biden pleaded guilty to everything or whatever, well, not guilty, but guilty, Joe Biden had appointed him in charge of something. And when Trump was president, he appointed Jared Kushner to certain things. So to appoint people in the family to be certain executive positions, not necessarily chief of staff like Yoshaphat, but they were put in charge of stuff. And the commentators actually talk about it just a little bit before we go forward, but it's good to know. First of all, in the Gemara, in the Talmud Masechet Nadarim, Samach Bet Amud Aleph, in folio 62a of Tractate Nadarim, there's a discussion about what are the limits of bragging about yourself. You're not allowed to brag, but when can you identify to people who you are? And when is it inappropriate? Rava said in a time of need, it is permitted for a person to make himself known in a place where people do not know him. That happened to me. I won't take out the time now. For those of you who know my Pittsburgh story, and one of these days, I'm just going to do a bunch of 10-minute YouTubes of a lot of my different stories. I have some very good stories. My Pittsburgh story, the uber short version, is that it was Erev Shabbos. I got stuck in Pittsburgh half an hour before Shabbos, and I needed somewhere to stay for Shabbos. And I didn't even have time to look for a hotel. This is before Siri and Alexa, and I was up the creek. And I started knocking on doors. It's a much better story. But anyway, I started knocking on doors, looking for mezuzahs. And one or two opened the doors. And I explained to them shamefacedly that I need a place for Shabbos. And, people are that's not normal for someone to knock on your door 20 minutes before Shabbos. Now, if you're Orthodox and you're Machnis Orchim, you have Shabbos guests, it's not completely from Mars, but it's kind of from the moon. And so I said, look, actually, I'm a rabbi. I'm a musmach of Rabbi Soloveitchik and Yeshiva University, and I'm this and I'm that. And it sounded good enough that they let me in for Shabbos. I don't know if I did honor to the memory and name of, I'm not sure I'm the greatest musmach that ever came out from Rabbi Soloveitchik, but it got me in the door. So I'm allowed to, I wasn't bragging on myself. I'm permitted to make myself known and my titles in a place where people don't know me, if it's a good reason. But I'm not allowed to just go around bragging on myself. And then you go on. And that brings us to this paragraph in terms of this question. Rava said, it is permitted for a Torah scholar to say, I am a Torah scholar. Shrei leila tsurba me rabbanan. A tsurba me rabbanan is a Torah scholar. Lememar tsura me rabbanan ana. To say, I am a tsura me rabbanan. I'm a Torah scholar. Shroli tigrai beresha. So I'm sitting here in the courtroom. I'm here for a litigation matter. You're allowed to come in and say to the clerk, the judicial clerk, the clerk of the courtroom comes, he collects all the business cards from the lawyers, and they want to make sure everybody's there, and they're going to start calling the cases. You're allowed to say softly to the clerk, I'm a Torah scholar. Please call my case first. I see I'm 11th on today's docket. I'm a Torah scholar. I have to get back to yeshiva, keep learning. So you're allowed to do that. And Dichtiv Uvnei David Kohanim Hayu, as it says in our pasuk, our verse here, that the sons of David were Kohanim. which we thought means priests. Ma Kohen Tel Barosh. Why were they called Kohanim if they're not Kohens? Because just as a Kohen comes first, when we read the Torah on Shabbat, the Kohen gets the first aliyah. And in the courtroom, if there's 13 cases on the docket, the Kohen gets called first if that's what he wants. Av Talmid Chacham no tel barosh. Likewise, a Torah scholar goes first. And so it's to convey that the sons of David were first in the kingdom. But you want to think of them as princes. So the prince, all the years that Prince Charles was there while Queen Elizabeth was up there with King Philip, he was like first in the kingdom. And so what it means is that B'nai David Kohanim Hayu, that here we are listing all the people whom David HaMelech appointed for different high offices to be his cabinet, his defense minister, secretary of defense, the chief of staff, and the chief of the the chief of military staff, chief of the office staff, and the Kohanim, which in those days of Beit HaMikdash world, that was a high position in the cabinet, and etc. And with all these other important people, the sons of David outranked them. That's what it's saying. Kohanim Hayu, they outranked everyone else in the cabinet. That's what it meant. Furthermore, two more mafarshim on it. Really interesting. I'm so glad Janet's question led me in this direction. The Mitzudat David says on Kohanim Hayu that they were Kohanim, which we now know means they were top of the line of the pecking order. Rotzelomar Hayu Rashim V'Sarim. What it means is that they were heads, right? Rosh is a head, Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. These two were the heads, and they were officers. And he goes on to say that he cites from Chronicles, B'nai David Harishonim. It says literally that the sons of David, as you know from several of our classes, Chronicles, Divrei Hayamim sort of provides a less spiritual, historic account of the same events that we're covering in the books of Shmuel and soon Malachim, the books of Kings. And the way that it was worded, the same narrative in the book of Chronicles, instead of calling them Kohanim, the terminology used there is Ubnei David Harishonim Liad HaMelech. They were first to the king. So that helps us understand king. And there's a downside that Ralbag brings, the last commentator on this. B'nai David, Kohanim Hayu. And the sons of David were Kohanim, which we now know means that they were that they were first in line, that they even outranked the cabinet members. Reish Lamed Ratzalomar, in other words, to say, I see Janet getting admitted. I hope Janet was here for the first part of the discussion. Uvnei David Kohanim Hayu, where it says here that the sons of David were Kohanim, which we've now said what we said, Reish Lamed Ratzalomar Sarim Umoshlim, that they were the officers and the governing authorities outranking cabinet members. They were the number one and number two. And Ralbag adds an interesting point. We haven't learned this yet, and it's kind of I guess you call it a spoiler, if you have to call it a spoiler. We haven't learned it yet. It'll be coming later in 2 Samuel, Shmuel Bet. Only in Shmuel Bet, yeah. By the beginning of Malachim Aleph, it's all resolved pretty much. Some of David's sons, and I've made reference to this before, so I've already given you the spoiler. We're going to learn that David had almost no nachas from his kids. I have even told this to people who've come to me for pastoral care, brokenhearted because one or another child did not come out the way they hoped. And or one or another child, more than not coming out the way they hoped, came out, so to speak, a disaster. And I mentioned what happened with King David. Everybody sings David, Melech Yisrael, Chai Chai V'Kayam, and it's like everybody wants to be King David, or he had the most wonderful life, and in many ways he did. But he had a lot of tragedy in his life. I think if you knew, some of you may already, and as we will learn, I think most of us would not change our place with King David if we could. If someone would say, here's the deal, you have your life, I will make you, I'll move back in time and back to the future, whatnot, and I'll make you King David, not just for 10 minutes, but you get to be King David, and he'll get to be you. Now, I don't know that he would trade to be me, but I think most people would not trade to be King David because it wasn't all being King David. He went through things that most people would say, you know what? I'd rather live my life, have my kids. It's worth it. His kids came out. One tried to kill him, led a rebellion that drove him out of the palace, forced him to flee for his life with all of his household, with all of his palace household, with his wives, with his everything. And he just got out in time before he got killed. And his general Yoav's pretty much helped him. That's why David never fired him, because he needed him to protect him from his own son. And then there were other things that happened. I don't even want to tell you. You'll find out when you learn with me in the weeks, months to come. You'll feel, if I could be the progenitor of the Messiah and have people sing a song about me for thousands of years, I'd rather pass. I'd waive that honor just not to have those children, and just to have the children I have, with all the heartbreak they give me too, just to have my children, God bless them. And so what I don't want to give away more than I have to, but what Malbim here is saying is that for those of us who know what's going to happen and what became of his sons and what they did to destroy part of his life and their own lives, Hine zeh ha'inyan haya siba laharbei meharaot shaba'u leDavid. And this indeed, Ralbag, not Malbim on this one, Ralbag says, and this factor that David made his sons outrank his cabinet members, the top people in the kingdom, is the reason for a great many of the tragedies, the ra'ot, the bad things that happened to David. Ki imlo ha'inyan ken, if David had not done that, raising them prematurely to such exalted positions, lo marad Avshalom, Absalom, whom we haven't learned about much yet, would not have ended up conducting a rebellion against him that drove him out of the palace and exiled him from the country. V'lo neharag Amnon, and one of his sons, Amnon, would not have been killed. The Adoniah, and another of his sons, Adoniah, in another context, also would not have had to be killed. Kamo sheyir eba ma'at iyun. If you just look it over carefully, says Ralbag, you'll see what happened. And his problem was he gave them too much. He doted on them too much. He never held them accountable. Some parents are like that. Never held them accountable for anything wrong they did. Ubechlal, im hayam mashkiach hamelech b'musar banav, if the king would have given his children musar, if he would have called them to account and taught them right from wrong, instead of just leaving it to his wives, each of whom had one of the children, while he was busy as king and ruler, and if he had been a little bit more of an active father at home, lo kara lahem kach, all this would not have happened to them, which redounded to him. So the short answer is Kohen in this context means someone who's high ranking, like first in the line. But we just learned a lot extra as well. And this applies to all of us. Some of us maybe are no longer having more children. Some of us are. If you have kids, you should be loving and kind, and don't beat them up and don't insult them and destroy their sense of worth but you have to call them out on it when they do bad things. You have to teach them right from wrong. And if they're not going to like you for a minute, so they won't like you for a minute, you have to teach right from wrong. And if you don't have children in the house, maybe you have grandchildren. All right, so if you have grandchildren, spoil them. But make sure that your children tell your grandchildren right from wrong. Very important lesson. Rabbis, I could bring you other sources. Rabbis, commentators talk about it, that David doted on his children and was a disaster. You have to teach your children right from wrong. Now, I said there was one more thing. Take out about 5 minutes for this, because I just got to share it with someone beyond Denise. And so here we go. For those of you who haven't heard the news today in Lebanon, you'll hear it now. For those of you who have heard the news, I got to share this. I mean, Israel, you know how I feel about Israel. And I know how you feel about Israel. And Sundays, we know how much we feel about Israel. But it's so aggravating also. They're so aggravating, from Israelis to certain Israelis, not all Israelis, God forbid, but and a lot of Americans are aggravating. I'm aggravating. But the thing is, they're aggravating, and the way they run that country is aggravating. But every so often, they do something that you say, what can you say? What can you say? So today, the news was that Hezbollah, same thing. Hezbollah, who are the Hamas of Lebanon, Nasrallah, their leader, got very concerned a few months ago after Israel killed Haniya in Iran. Nasrallah, everybody was trying to figure out, how did Israel know? You could know that Haniya went to Iran. How did they know he went to a house, and what time he went to the house, and which room? And so the assumption is, among other things, there are many theories, one of which is that Israel was monitoring all the cell phone conversations, or that as careful as they are with cell phones, that Haniya made one slip with his cell phone somewhere. Like for one moment, as he's walking into his house, maybe went on the cell phone and said, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I'm just picking up a pair of shoes. I don't know. So Nasrallah gave the word, no more cell phones in Hezbollah. Everybody has to get rid of their cell phones, because the Zionist entity is listening to all our cell phones, and everybody's got to go to pagers. And the value of a pager, you would think, what in the year 2024, what are you going to do with a pager? A pager, number one, you can send out a message to like 1,000 people at once on a pager. It's much easier. Number two, it's less expensive if you're outfitting thousands of people with pagers rather than with iPhones. Number three, pagers don't bing bing off the towers. They don't rely on those towers that the cell phones do. Number four, they work if towers are down, like if Israel blows up a tower. And number five, again, they only go one way if you have one-way pagers, and they don't convey your location. So Nasrallah outfitted the entire Hezbollah with pagers, and God knows how they did it. But if you didn't hear the news today, all the pagers blew up today, and like at least 9 so far are dead. 2,000 to 3,000 are in hospitals. And it reminds me of an old story. When I was in JDL, we had this super karate guy, and he had no sense of humor. He knew only one joke. And you didn't mess with this guy. He was all business. He was there to teach everybody karate, and you didn't mess with this guy. But he always liked to tell his one joke if you never heard of it. And he would come to you and say, did I ever tell you this joke? And you had to say, I never heard it. I never heard it, Alex. And so he'd tell this one joke. He'd say a guy is in a room and there's a fly. And the fly is making everybody crazy, and everybody's swatting the fly, trying to catch the fly. They can't get the fly. In comes the karate grandmaster. And he says, leave it to me. I will finish this fly. Everybody in awe steps back. The karate guy does thing. He had a karate joke. And the fly comes and he goes, and he says, all done, finished. Everybody looks at him. The fly is still flying. It's still buzzing. What did you do? You didn't accomplish anything. He says, I didn't say I would kill it. I said I would finish it. That fly is the last in its line. It will have no children. So I was thinking of that as these pagers blew up in these people's pockets. They're all wearing pagers in their front pockets. And that pretty much is, they're not going to be having children, the ones that survived. And let's just show you this real quick. Here we go. And then we'll go into the Navi. Let's just take that off the screen. Okay. First of all, here's this from today's Ma'ariv. See if I can find it. All right. Just a moment. See if we can get this one on a big screen. Okay. Here we go. So that was in a supermarket in Lebanon. And let's see, this is what's going on in the hospitals now. This is what's going on right now in the Beirut hospitals. Okay, you get the idea. So you get the idea of that. And okay, and let's see. There's one more of those. This one, watch this guy. Keep your eye on the guy with the blue baseball cap and the blue shirt. This guy. Okay. You got the idea. And now just a bit about the story to fill in some details you probably won't get in the American media. In Hezbollah, like they can't believe it. They're trying to digest this. 500, they're reporting that 500 of their guys have been blinded, have lost their sight in the bombing. Just read you 2 or 3 paragraphs, then we'll get to business. Let's take it from here. The Lebanese media reported that at least 4,000 people were injured and at least 8 were killed presently by a bomb from pagers that all belonged to Hezbollah members. This was not like general people's pagers. All these, they're always talking about Israel should avoid harming civilians. Every one of these pagers was purchased by Hezbollah. It was throughout different regions of Lebanon. It further was reported that about 500 Hezbollah activists lost their sight. A Hezbollah high-ranking person conveyed that the number of people that have been injured by these exploding pagers is the number of injured is rising so fast that they can't give an accurate count at this time. A writer for the Associated Press says that photographs photographs taken by agencies in the hospitals are announcing that the emergency rooms are jam-packed with people who are sick, injured. Several have come with severe injuries, including lost hands and other significant parts of the body. The Iranian foreign minister conveyed to his Lebanese counterpart that I think that they're going to help out. Also, Jordan has conveyed The media in Syria announced that even in Syria, Hezbollah, people with those pagers blew up. And with the Iranian Revolution, reported that a number of Hezbollah people were injured in Syria and have been turned to Syrian hospitals after the pagers blew up. The Red Cross has announced that more than 30 ambulances have been sent to the south, to the valley and the southern areas of Beirut. In addition, the Lebanese Minister of Health reported regarding hundreds of injuries throughout Lebanon as a result of these bombs, explosions. Furthermore, there are all kinds of reports, et cetera, et cetera. Also, the Iranian, and this was very interesting, and we'll take us right in, we'll go right to Navi. An interesting footnote to the story is that the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon also got blown up and killed. So if those pagers belonged only to people who are Hezbollah terrorists, how does an ambassador from another country happen to have one of those pagers? It's just further unintended proof of how Iran is so intertwined with the terrorist groups that when Hezbollah got their pagers, they included the Iranian ambassador with one of the pagers. There's a war that's about to break out, and we know it from the Sunday class. They're coming very close to breaking out with a second war, all-out war in Lebanon. Understand 100,000 Israeli, 80,000 to 100,000 Israelis have been homeless since last October. When October 7th happened, in support of what happened down south, Hezbollah started shooting rockets, making northern Israel, the Galilee, uninhabitable. 80,000 to 100,000 people have had to flee their homes and have not been home since last October, November. And no one reports on that in the Western media. But everybody talks about, well, let's not get too much into it, we'll lose time. But Israel is now at a point where, whether for political pressure on Netanyahu or political pressure in the country, or they're giving up on negotiating with Hamas, whatever it is, it seems very clear to people that an all-out war is about to start in Lebanon. And it's almost as though Israel were saying, we're not afraid of Nasrallah saying he's going to start a war. If you think you got us scared, here's what we have to say. We'll send our message to you by pager. Okay, here we go. Navi. Chapter 9. So David now has everything under control. He's the king of Israel. He's got a cabinet. His kids have important positions. All the surrounding countries have been subdued. He's invaded and subdued all of Moab and Ammon and all these different countries that represent a threat, so that when Solomon Shlomo one day becomes king of Israel to build the Beit HaMikdash, that's his greatest gift to his son. You will inherit a country at peace. No one will threaten you. They might threaten you, but no one will be able to harm you. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never. You're going to be safe. I've taken care of all of them. And so now David turns to the next part of his monarchy. He has another piece of business to attend to. He had a vow, a covenant with Yonatan, the deceased son of Saul, King Saul, that they would care for each other for life. They would be brothers in love for life, and that they would care for each other for life. And if either dies first, the survivor will do everything in his power to care for and take care of anyone that the fellow beloved friend leaves behind. And now that David has a sense of security and a little bit of time to just check off boxes that remain to be checked off, he turns to the House of Saul, more particularly the house of Yonatan. What still has to be done there? Vayomer David said, Hachi yesh od asher notar levet Shaul. are there any survivors in the House of Saul? So part of the question is, what prompted him at that moment to ask? And the thought of, see, which one is this? Malbim. Malbim says it kind of surprised him that here we are going around handing out offices. I don't want to call it spoils, but I'm appointing people to all these positions. And there are all these people coming asking for jobs. That's what happens when someone wins an election. You can be sure if Harris or Trump, right after the election, all their supporters are going to start coming and asking for jobs. That's what happens. I helped you get elected. I worked in your campaign in Idaho. I don't know where. Idaho where. And I'd like to be the commissioner of receipts. I don't know. So it surprised him. No one from the House of Saul came by. In fact, no one from the House of Saul has called on me since I became king, since the assassination of Ishbosheth and of his commander-in-chief, Abner. And so he's wondering, that's what, and so he's asking, V'lachen Shaul, im yesh od mehanotar levet Shaul. He wanted to know, is there anybody left from the House of Saul? Wrote Salomar, im odam chayim. Is there anybody there still alive? Shirat salah hakimehem sarim ushvatim. He wanted to name some of them, appoint some of them officers and judges as part of an honest-to-goodness unity in the country. You know, politicians always talk about, if you elect me with all the internecine fighting, if you elect me, I'll bring unity to the country. Biden promised that. Obama promised that. I don't know that Trump even bothered to promise it. And none of them do. David wanted unity. David wanted to convey that the House of Saul is my brother, and we are one people. There's no opposition. We're in this together. And then all the more so after Yoav, David's general, killed Avner without authorization. David wanted very much to bring in the House of Saul, and nobody showed up. So therefore, he's saying that David manas sarim v'shoftim v'roei pnei hamelech. So David was appointing all these officers and judges and all kinds of White House staff. And he asked, is there anybody from the House of Saul? Maybe there's some soldier. We can make him a general, a lieutenant, a court. I don't know. Yonatan. And then I'd be able, David says, to do a chesed, a kindness to that guy, or that many, many guys or people on behalf of the memory of Jonathan. Yonatan. And from what it says, I want to do it ba'avur Yonatan, right? That's the text. Ba'avur Yonatan. I want to do it for the sake of Jonathan. So, you shouldn't, whenever I do that, I never know what I'm going to lose. I think it was Doc. Nope. Just give me a second, which one I just lost there. Maybe it was Rav. Okay, otherwise I'll finish it on my own. I want to do it on behalf of Yonatan, and it was from here. I'm sorry, and I want to give it back what I promised, and therefore, all right, let me stop jumping around for that. Therefore, because I promised him and nobody has shown up, is there somebody from that household? I want to honor them, and so we continue with the text. Uleveit Shaul Eved Ushmot Siva. It happens to be that the House of Saul had an Eved Kanaani, a non-Jewish servant. There's an Eved Ivri. A Hebrew servant under biblical law would be someone who owes money and cannot pay it back. So rents himself out for a period of time to the person he owes money, and the value of his services are deducted from his debt. Make up numbers. He owes someone $500, and the value of services is $20 an hour. So he has to work 25 hours. So he hires himself out that I will be your servant for 25 hours, or whatever it may be. It may be because he took a loan that he did not repay. There's no bankruptcy in biblical times. You had to work off your debt, but there also was no debtor prison. I never understood. I don't think anybody ever figured out debtor prison. Debtor prison's a punishment, but I mean, and that way he's going to pay off his debt. If he sits in prison, now he's going to pay off his debt. And when he gets out of prison, the family is so much more deep in debt. The mother and the wife and the kids. Now he's who understands how he did things. In Torah, in ancient times, the idea was that you worked it off. Who do you owe it to? They didn't have credit cards, so you didn't have to become a servant to Capital One. You borrowed money from someone, you owe them money, you got to pay them back. Or if you stole, if you robbed. So what happens now? You steal, grab, smash and grab, and they arrest you, and then no cash bail, and then they suspend the sentence. In the meantime, Target and Walmart has to move out of San Francisco because they can't afford it anymore, because they're having so many losses from smash and grab, and there's no deterrence because the crooks don't end up in jail, in prison, or they end up for a month. So in biblical times, if they got you for crime, for stealing, you were sentenced to be a servant to the guy you stole from. Again, not forever, only for 6 years, and then you went free in the 7th year. But up to 6 years, you have to work off your debt. So that's an Evet Ivri. An Evet Kanani was, for different reasons, people became servants to Jews in biblical times. Maybe they were taken at war, so they were treated well. We've been learning some of this Thursday nights in the Rambam class on Jewish ethics and values at times of war against their enemies. And Tziva was a non-Jewish servant. We don't know how he came to be in the possession of the House of Saul, but he was Saul's #1 servant. So David was trying to find out, is there anybody from the House of Saul? Because I want to make good on my promise to Jonathan, but only if people are alive, if they've all been killed out at war, and I don't know. Shaul Eved Shmo Tziva. So the House of Saul had a servant whose name was Tziva. Vayikru'ulo el David, and David's men found him and told him David wants him to come by. Vayomer Hamelach Elav Ha'atat Tziva Vayomer Avdecha. David said, "I see we're past 7:30. I don't know where the time went, but I'll wrap it up here for now." David's men told him, and David said to him, they brought him in, and David said, "Atat Tziva, are you Tziva?" Vayomer Avdecha, and he responded, "I am your servant." One last pasuk. Vayomer Hamelech. Oh, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. 7 to 8, mixed it up with Thursday. That makes more sense. Okay, I'm sorry for making everybody crazy. So we still have 12. Okay, Baruch Hashem. So anyway, are you Tziva? Yes, I am Tziva. I'm your servant. Vayomer Hamelech. FS, you may know the word FS means 0. That was the worst exam grade you could get in yeshiva. In elementary school, you got a big, where the teacher would say, "I saw you looking at his paper, you're getting an FS." FS is 0. Vayomer Hamelech. FS od ish levet Shaul. Is there no one else left to the house of Saul? Because if there is, because if there is, I will do to him the greatest kindness. Before the eyes of God, I will do God's kindness to him. Vayomer Tziva el Hamelech, and the servant Tziva said to the king, Od ben Yonatan, there still is one more son to Jonathan, Nechei Raglayim, and he's crippled. Raglayim is his legs. He's crippled in his legs. Do you remember that? Before we learned in 2 Samuel, which we are now we're in chapter 9. When we were in chapter 4, that was the time there was the assassination of King Ishbosheth. And then after Ishbosheth was assassinated, First they assassinated Avner, and then they assassinated Ishbosheth. So they assassinated Avner. If you remember, that was Yoav murdering Avner without authorization, and that made everybody really terrified. And then there came the two guys who, when they heard that Avner had been killed, decided to assassinate Ishbosheth and bring his head to David, expecting a reward. Instead, he had them executed. Amid all of that craziness and terror going on in the House of Saul, we just lost our commander in chief, and the head of the household is in peril. Yonatan ben Shaul, we learned this, ben Nechei Raglayim, that Jonathan, the deceased Jonathan, son of Saul, had a son who was crippled in his legs. And the story was, ben Chamesh Shanim Haya, he had been 5 years old, the boy, Bevo Shmuat Shaul Yonatan Israel. When word first came back to the house of Saul that a horrific Philistine war had taken place in which both Saul and Jonathan were killed. And the nanny, the caregiver of this otherwise healthy 5-year-old boy who had perfectly fine legs, became frantic, picked up this healthy boy with good legs, started running like crazy frantically, afraid the Philistines are going to come and kill her and kill him. And she aimed to save him. Vatisaehu oman tovatanos. So the oman, the caregiver or maid, picked him up, started running. Vayehi b'chavzah. And as she was in such haste, lanus, as she was running with such haste, vayipol, she fell in such a way that the boy's legs, his bones were crushed, and he never could walk again. Vayipaseach, the word, on the one hand, you may know the word Pesach, but also a piseach is someone who's lame. Ushmo mefivoshet. So we learn that. So when David asked, is there anyone left in the family, in the household, Tziva, the Eved Kanani, the non-Jewish servant in charge of the household, said, Od ben Yonatan, there is still one living son of Jonathan, Nechei Raglayim, and he's like paralyzed, his legs are crippled. Vayomer lo hamelach efohu, and David said, where is he? Efo, where? Who? He. Where is he? Vayomer Tziva el hamelach. Tziva said to the king, Hinehu Beit Machir ben Amiel below Davar. There was a location called Lo Davar. If the Lo would have been with an aleph, sometimes that's a response in contemporary Hebrew to thank you. You say Todah, and one of the various colloquial responses to thank you is Lo Davar or Al Ein Davar. It's nothing. Thank you for doing this. Nothing. But this place was called Lo Davar with a Vav. It's a different thing. And there's a guy named Machir, the son of Amiel, and he was basically hiding this kid. Now, why is he hiding the kid? Because the fear was not everybody knew what David's up to. You know, people, you don't know what they're up to. We know, with the benefit of hindsight of thousands of years, that this was a righteous man. But when you're dealing in life and death situations, people are killing people, assassinating people, you don't know who to believe. And people make promises and would you believe Putin? I mean, seriously, that guy who was in charge of the Wagner group, that sort of militia that worked with Putin, under Putin, and had soldiers fighting in Ukraine. Then the guy pulled out of Ukraine, and he said he's going to, he started like a revolution against Putin. So then when it became clear to him that Putin was going to kill him out, he made a deal with Putin. He said, I'm sorry, I underestimated you, I blew it. So he made peace, and he said, I'll leave Russia. Let me live with my guys. We'll go to Africa. We'll make trouble there. You'll never have trouble with me again. Putin said, that's just fine. You'll never have trouble with me again. Go ahead in peace. Next thing you know, the guy's in an airplane and Putin shoots down the plane. So you never know what you're dealing with. And they didn't know David. We know David. We know David HaMelech. They still didn't know him. They knew he is a killer. We know he killed only if absolutely necessary for righteous reasons, like Goliath or defensive against Philistines. But they didn't yet know, where does he draw the line? So with the House of Saul wiped out by now, and Avner, the chief of staff, is dead, killed by David's general later on, and Ishbosheth is assassinated, this kid legitimately feared for his life, and anybody friendly to the House of Saul understandably felt, we've got to get you out of that palace, and we've got to hide you for the rest of your life. You're going to have to be in hiding, but you'll be safer than dead. And so now David turns, and until now, David has not turned to making good his promise to Jonathan. Understandably, he's had other higher priorities like life and death for himself. But now that things have calmed down, he wants to do this. And he's got to convince them he's safe. And he convinces them. And he tells Siva, I want to see, bring me this kid. And so they go find him. Vayishlach HaMelech David, verse 5. And so King David sent, Vayikachehu mi Beit Machir ben Amiyam lo Devara, and they brought forth this kid, who's older than 5 now. How much older, I'm not sure. Obviously, a few years since the end of the war. Well, we can do some math. We know that the war's over. We know there was like 3 years before David became king, and he's in Hebron for 7 years. And so the boy's at least 7 years, 10 years old. Boy's probably a teenager by then. I don't know. And he's still crippled. And so they call him Vayavo Mephibosheth. His name is Mephibosheth. 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 His father was Yonatan. His grandfather was Saul. His uncle, brother to his father, was Ishbosheth. Ishbosheth's the one that did not go to war. The other 3 brothers went to war, including Jonathan, his father. They died at war with grandpa, King Saul. Grandson Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, is brought. So Vayavo Mephibosheth ben Yonatan ben Shaul. So they brought Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, who was the son of Saul, El David. They brought him to David. Vayipol panav, and he prostrated, Vayishtachu. He hit the floor and he prostrated full body. Because he still doesn't know what he's doing there. For all he knows, he's about to be executed. He doesn't know. He might have heard that there's a tradition in the family that David the king promised your father one of these days, ... But he doesn't know. And now he's being forcibly brought, which he would have to be anyway because he can't walk. Vayomer David Mephibosheth. David said, basically like, hello, Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth. Aha. Mephibosheth. Heard about you. Vayomer Hine Avdecha. And Mephibosheth said, here I am your servant. Vayomer lo David. And David saw he was shaking. How do I know he was shaking if it doesn't say so? Because I already prepared the commentaries for tonight's class. Vayomer lo David. David sees he's shaking. He's fearing death. And he says, Al tira, don't be afraid. Ki aso esa imcha chesed, because my intention is to do with you only kindness. Chesed, gemilas chesed. Ba'avur Yonatan avicha, because of, in memory of, in fulfillment of my promise to Yonatan, your father. Bahashi, I'm going to give you everything. You know, the House of Saul had a lot of property. There you are hiding in some basement or garage or wherever you are. I'm returning to you the entire estates. of the house of Saul. I'm returning to you formally all the fields, all the property of your grandfather Saul. And atatocha al shulchani tamid. And forever, for as long as you live, you will eat beside me at my table. Let's understand that a bit. I don't know if you've ever seen any of these Peter O'Toole movies where he plays King Henry this or King Henry that in England in the Middle Ages. But like that was like a thing. The king would have a king's table. Every day, if you ever saw Lion in Winter or Beckett or any of those types of movies, the king would have a dais, like you see at a bar mitzvah or a wedding, and his cabinet would sit with him, his immediate family. I don't think they did it every meal of the day, maybe one meal a day. I don't think they ate breakfast that way, and I don't think they did it both lunch and dinner. I don't know. But there was the king's table. Now, the reason I'm giving you the Peter O'Toole image, because I don't think Queen Elizabeth or King Charles does it that way, or any of these other kings, maybe in the Arab kingdoms. But there would be a king's table. On one of our Tuesday night classes, as we were finishing the book of Sefer Melachim Bet, 2 Kings, chapter 25, where it was the end of the kingdom and Nebuchadnezzar took down the kingdom and Jews were in exile in Babylonia. The book ends that the descendant king of Israel in the dungeon after the death of Nebuchadnezzar, like his grandson, from out of nowhere gave an order to pull the king of Israel out of the dungeon and have him sit next to me at my king's table for the rest of my life and his life. So that was a thing. With that in mind, that's what David is saying to Mephibosheth. You're afraid I'm going to kill you? I will do kindness to you. You will sit with me. You will have all your fields back. I made a promise. Promise kept. So he says, Vayishtachu. Again, Mephibosheth goes to the floor and prostrates, this time out of gratitude. Vayomer me'avdecha. He says, what am I that I should deserve such an honor? What am I? Kifanita el hakelef. I'm like a dog that's dead. Asher kamoni. I'm a dead dog. Why do I merit such a thing? As I was preparing tonight's class, and I was refreshing my memory of all this text, I was struck by the term kelev met. He says I'm like a dead dog. You remember that? See if I can find it here. Do you remember that? You'd have to have been here a couple of months, several months. David, when he was being pursued by Saul in 1 Samuel, Shmuel Aleph, there was that time that Shaul went to relieve himself in a cave, and David cut part of his garment. And then Shaul went back to the other place with his army. And then David, safe distance away, called out, King Saul. And Saul turns, who is it? Is that you, my son, David? And then David says, I'm not trying to hurt you. I don't know why you're pursuing me to kill me. I love you. I'm your son-in-law. I'm your servant. Why do you do this? Why do you listen to the people who say, David is out to do you harm? You can see for yourself, the Lord delivered you into my hands. And I was urged to kill you. And I showed you pity. I would not raise a hand against my Lord. Take a look at the corner of your cloak. It's in my hand. When I cut off the corner of your cloak, I didn't kill you. You must see I've done nothing evil. Why are you trying to hurt me? As the ancient proverb has it, etc., against whom has the king of Israel come out? Whom are you pursuing? A dead dog. A single flea. Achrei miyat samach Israel. Achrei miyat tarodev. Achrei kelev met. I was struck that seems to have been an expression when someone would want to say to someone else, that he's very, very insignificant. Nowadays, if you wanted to say to someone, for whatever your reason, I'm really very insignificant, maybe you would find another way to say it. It seems like the idiom at that time was to compare oneself to a dead dog. And so here as well, we have him saying, I'm only a dead dog. Why would you do this for me? Who am I? What am I? And so the king called Siva, that servant of the household, Nar Shaul, the young man who worked for the House of Saul, Vayomer love, and David said to him, Kol asher hayal Shaul ulechol beito, everything that Saul and his entire household had, Natati leven adonecha, I now have given to the son of your master. Your master was Saul, and your grandson, who effectively is the son of Saul, because there's no one in between. The name son of Saul brings up another memory. I won't get into that one now. And so everything belongs to him. The avadet halo et adama, and you will work just as you worked his fields, the fields for Saul, along with your children. That was what you did for a living, for a livelihood with your whole household. You worked the many estates of King Saul. Now you will continue doing it on behalf of Mephibosheth. You and your son Vavadecha, and because Siva, as the chief servant to Saul, was so high ranked as his assistant, he had subservants who were subservient to him. And you will work the fields daily and provide meals for him. So the question is, if David said that Mephibosheth will be at the king's table eating meals alongside David, practically speaking, why would Siva need to be working the fields, keep them in good condition? I understand, but why add that he'll be providing the lechem v'achalo, that he'll be providing the bread and feeding Mephibosheth? Because the daily meal at the king's table was not enough for an entire 24-hour period of nutrition. So you had the glory and honor of eating a meal at the king's table, but you also had to eat a meal or two at home. And so for that, Siva is in charge. And also why bread? Because remember, nowadays, you want bread, you get it at the store, or you have Instacart bring it. In those days, if you want bread, you have to get grains of wheat or whatever, I don't know, oat or barley, whatever bread you're having. Let's say wheat, and you have to beat the wheat, and you have to separate the chaff, and you have to grind the wheat into flour, and you have to add water, and you have to knead it, and you have to, that's a job. We don't think about it now. You want bread? Hey, honey, while you're going to the store, can you pick up a loaf of bread? But in those days, that's a big job. And so David was saying, you will work the fields, you'll give him bread. And so your master, the son of your master Saul, Mephibosheth, will eat daily with me. And again, he'll have to eat other meals during the day. So don't assume that since he's eating daily at my table, that he's got enough to eat. You'll be feeding him also. Now, fortunately for Siva, Siva had 15 sons and 20 servants. So he had a team of 35 people to do the work. And I guess we'll break at this point because we're a little over. I won't go into commentators tonight. We'll do that next week. And Vayomer Siva lamelech k'chol asher Siva Adoni hamelech et avdo. Siva says, Your Honor, according to all that you have commanded to your humble servant, ken ya'aseh avdecha, thus shall I, your humble servant, do. U'Mephibosheth ochel al shulchani ke'achad mibnei hamelech, and Mephibosheth will end up eating at your table, and so on and so forth. And there's commentary to be done, and we'll do that next week. But I wanted to bring this in together So we've basically done almost the entirety of chapter 9, the part about Mephibosheth. We will learn next week that Mephibosheth was a great Torah scholar, and we will learn much more about him as well in the commentaries as we finish chapter 9. And I wish everybody just a very wonderful week. We have Thursday night class, of course. We're going to start shifting. Thursday, we're shifting as we did last week. We're now moving into Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur Sukkot mode. So Jewish ethics and values, we'll still be learning halakha, but instead of in terms of war against our enemies, we'll be putting that aside for a few weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and instead be learning Rambam and Gemara texts to do with Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. We already began, and we'll be learning about Kol Nidre. We'll be learning about Yonatan Tokef, and we already started last week with an extended discussion about how the months are created, how we establish halachically the months to lead up to Rosh Hashanah and everything like that. So have a wonderful week again. Look forward to seeing you, and stick with the cell phones. Leave the pagers aside. Bye-bye.